employers are trying to find a way to deal with the rising healthcare costs related to obesity. And two researchers at Philadelphia's Children's Hospital decided that maybe it's a good idea to give your employees a cash incentive. So in order to do this experiment, they had three different groups. They had a control group, and of course the control group didn't receive any money for losing weight. Then they had one group known as the individual incentive group. Everyone in that group would get $100 at the end of the month if they met their weight goal. And the final group was the group incentive. In this case, there's a group of 5 people, and there's a pot of $500. If everyone meets their weight goal, each person gets $100. If only 2 people meet their weight goal, well, those 2 people have to split the $500. So that means that if everyone else fails and you win, you can get that entire $500 check.
It's awesome. So that gets your competitive juices flowing in 2 different directions. Oh, I'm gonna lose the weight, and hey, free donuts for everybody. Right?
Exactly.
So you're gonna try to undercut people. See, now we're in the thick of humanity. Okay.
I love it. This is the kind of science that I love, because competitiveness, weight loss, incentives, all of that stuff is really interesting to me. You put it all together and you have one juicy story. Let me tell you what the results are. So when it comes to the individual incentive group, the group that gets the $100 if they meet their goal, they lost on average about 3.6 pounds, okay? The same for the control group. They didn't lose that much weight, of course, because they didn't really have an incentive.
So it's interesting because the people that didn't have an incentive came pretty close to the people who did. Just a flat out, if you do this, you get $100. So you would have thought the guys with the financial incentive might have done a little better, but not by much. So that's surprising. And they wound up regaining a lot of the weight, right? But now when you get to the competitive group, totally different.
It is totally different. In fact, they lost on average 10.6 pounds.
Damn.
And they kept the weight off.
So there's 2 parts of this, right? One is the competition. The other is, if you tell people there's a batch of money and it's going to disappear if you don't get it, that incentivizes them to like, what? Well, I got to get it before it goes away, right? So there's a word for it in psychology, etc. But it's a fascinating phenomenon. Plus, there's other aspects of it too. Like, for example, if an employer says, hey, you know what, I'm going to add $100 to your check or something, and you don't see it, they're not as motivated by it. But if they say, I'm going to give you a $100 check if you do that, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I can see that $100 check.
Yeah,
right?
So the researchers said if you try to incentivize your employees by saying, hey, we're going to take $100 off of your healthcare premium or something like that, people aren't going to be as motivated. So it really, really depends on how you carry this out. If you give them a check or if you give them cash, then all of a sudden they're much more motivated. And as you mentioned, putting it into their paycheck or something, that doesn't work. Right.
So the part where you are worried that the money is going to be gone is called loss aversion, right? So it's one thing to get new money, it's another thing to lose money you feel you kind of already have, in a sense. Because if you meet the goal, you'd get it, right?
Exactly.
And it's true, like if anybody's ever played fantasy football, if you don't have a player, like, nah, maybe he's okay. But if he's already on your team, you're like, wait a minute, you want me to trade that player? I don't know about that. That dude's on my team already, okay? And that's loss aversion. So by the way, it's irrational, you should trade him. Okay, so now humans, so that's why I'm not a libby-lib, right? God bless liberals. But liberals think like, oh, humans are all cooperative and we love each other and all we do is give each other hugs. Or if you're in a weight loss competition and you can get $500, you try a little harder and you take them out at the knees. You see what I'm saying? So competition, of course, is a huge part of human psychology as well. So just keep it real on that.